Hi everyone, welcome to this week's edition of the Philly Boots Rugby Roundtable. I'm pleased to be joined by Sandbach Rugby Club up in Chester. Nice to meet you fellas, thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Eggy, if you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll go round the round table, I guess. Introduce yourselves, let us know what you do at your clubs.
Yep, so I'm Eggy, I'm current club captain at the moment. I've been at the club since I was 6, so I'm 27 years now. So it's been a while I've been there, so I've done everything.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for giving up your evening. And Jack?
Yeah, I'm Jack. I've been in the club since I was about 10, so 20 odd years now. It's quite a long time, not as long as Eggy. Just been involved since then, apart from a brief sabbatical. Well, yeah, that's it.
Nice to meet you, Jack. Thanks for coming. Nick, welcome to the round table.
Thank you very much. As you said, my name's Nick. I was a bit of a late bloomer to rugby, so I started playing at the Batch when I was 17. Had a little sabbatical as well away from the club, but I've been in and around the senior setup for about 10 years, and sort of do help out on our social media channels and a number of other little things as well at the club at the minute.
Nice to meet you.
Cheers, yeah.
And finally, Andrew. You were the one that organised.
Thanks, Sean, for having us on tonight. Obviously, been following your podcast and your sites for a number of weeks in lockdown, and just thought it'd be good to get the lads on. So, I'm Andrew. I've been at the club again for a long time, 30 odd years, from a playing capacity to a coaching capacity, and now moved into a sort of director of rugby role alongside coaching as well with the first team. So yeah, that's what it is.
Well, nice to meet you. If you haven't seen these before, so we asked questions about how the club was, or how the club is, how the club was before the sort of COVID shit happened. And we talk about hopes and fears, and we chat about grassroots rugby, because that's what we all love. That's what we all do on a Saturday afternoon and throughout the week. So, tell us a little bit about Sandbach, and how many teams do you run? How many players have you got? So yeah, just someone give us a little bit of background.
Yeah, so we've got a sort of a real positive mini and junior section. We run 3 competitive teams in the league, so first down to third team, senior colts, junior colts, all the way down to under 6s, and that's something that we've sort of pride ourselves on, is our mini and junior section. All the lads on the screen have been through that. And there's huge amount of sort of transition from the junior setup to the senior setup. Club was founded 1936, formerly associated with Sandbach School, which some of you may know are listening in, sort of a rugby playing school. So there's a lot of transition again from school and club, and we're one club town and one school town. So every boy in the town goes to that school, and there's only one rugby club in the town as well. So that works really, really well. Moved to the current site that we're on, 1979, and that's then evolved. We've subsequently leased some more pitches. We've built a bigger clubhouse. We've built a S&C facility on site. We've expanded car parks. We've revised kitchen facilities, and all the changing rooms that the visiting teams come into now are reasonably good. And something that we pride ourselves on as a club is trying to make sort of the hospitality and the time when you come to the rugby club is as good as it possibly can be, whether you're a spectator, whether you're a visiting team, a referee, or whatever it may be. So that's where we are, really. We've been playing at level 5 now for 10 years, after a few sort of 1990 promotions, and then a few relegations, and sort of from 2007 onwards, really, the club has sort of really progressed as a sort of a community club, but a sort of trying to be as professional as we can be without being professional, if that makes sense. So that sort of gives a bit of background. We're sort of pretty proud to play or be involved in the club. I think the lads will all testify to that. We've got it's quite a lot of lads who stick around for a long, long time. And even lads who then go play bigger and better rugby will always come back on a Saturday for a beer, and we're very welcome to that.
Lovely. Rugby hasn't happened for a year or so now. But what was the club like in sort of the lead up to lockdown, a year ago?
The the club was in a really good place. So last season, we actually had our highest finish in, well, the old National 3, which is now the Midlands Prem. We finished 5th, which I think, Andrew might correct me, but I think that's our highest ever league finish as a club.
Yeah.
It was, we were literally just going into a transition period. So last year we had a coaching staff of Rob Webber, the former South Sharks hooker.
Yeah.
He was involved with the club and he's with us for 3 years. And he really sort of helped take the club from being an amateur club to have real aspirations of being sort of the most professional, like Andrew said before, the most professional amateur club you could be without, you know, any money or anything like that being involved. But so yeah, we had Rob involved. We had a new coach come in called Matt Bevington, who joined us from Sedgley Park, which are National 2, National 1 side in the past 3 or 4 years. And Andrew's been involved with that as well. And obviously the transition now was Andrew going into the director of rugby role and Matt Bevington, Bebs, going into the head coach role. And we had Nathan Rushton join us as well from Sedgley Park. And we were just sort of getting everything underway to kickstart. And, you know, having finished 5th last year, we had big aspirations as a squad to either emulate that or go bigger. And I think, you know, certainly from the little bits that we have been able to do in COVID training, we know where it's been permitted. We were probably in a good place to do that again. We always retain pretty much the same squad. There's always 1 or 2 lads who will go off and play at clubs in National 1 or in the Championship. And there's lads down at Cornish Pirates, got Will Cargill down there, and we've got, you know, lads who've obviously haven't played for the club for 10 years or so, in Will Cliff, James Gaskell, who are playing in the Premiership now.
Wow, yeah.
But we've always retained a real good sort of, the same lads have always been there. So you always retain, you know, 25 out of that 28-man first team squad every year, and we'd retain that, and we'd brought a couple of lads back from Coldy, obviously a National 1 side. So we're in a great place. Okay, we didn't really come at the best time for us, but we've all stuck together, and we're just raring to go when we can.
And how about the mini and junior sections? How were they faring? How many kids do you normally get down on a Sunday morning?
Yeah, so with my son being in the under 6s, he's been lucky enough to be in there for the last 3 seasons. So he's not young, and I've got to grips with how to coach 6-year-olds now. But it's
a lot of patience.
Yeah, so we're usually about 25 children from the under 6s all the way up, and around the 10 to 14 age groups with around 40 children in each of them age groups. And the same as every other club, when they start getting like late teenagers, it's very hard to keep them interested. They find girls and going out, but hopefully they go out, do that, and they come back and they get like us, and we like going out and girls still.
Beer and bacon and head to the 13. That's what I did. So how do you said you touched on there the 10 to 14-year-olds finding other things to do. How do you sort of engage with them to make sure that they do stick around, or they always know that you're there whenever they want a rugby game?
And so with that, the coaches, we invest, like Andrew, director of rugby, and our coaching, the senior coaches, they work directly with every age group coach, and they have webinars and Zoom calls monthly talking about what they can do in training and what we can do to keep the guys interested, which is quite difficult without games at the moment. But then we've got the 2 social media experts in Nick and Jack, who are bringing on that side, and we're just trying to keep the rugby, the atmosphere of being with the lads, but not being able to be with the lads in a totally different context, sort of thing. So I'll pass you over to Nick and Jack, and they'll just elaborate on that a little bit more.
On the media?
Yeah.
Oh, mate, yeah, it's been pretty good. We had I started with a Twitter account, really, that started off as a joke, secret Twitter account in the club, and no one knew who it was. And then it kind of stuck, and we got a bit of a following, a cult following. It was actually another lad from the club who was playing elsewhere at the time. He was doing it, and then he got me on board, and then the club decided they wanted in on it, so we gave it over to them, and it's come back around to me, Nick, Andrew, and a few of the mini junior parents doing it now, which is pretty good. Keeping a load of people engaged in the club through a load of challenges. we did a around the grounds challenge previously a few weeks ago, which was essentially going from Bradwell Road, which is where we play, to every single Premiership club in a circuit, just running it. And I don't know if it's impressive for the under-9s or embarrassing for the seniors, but the under-9s won it and they beat everyone and they got around first.
Definitely impressive. How many miles is that?
It was 1,600 kilometres roughly. I think it was.
That's impressive. That's impressive for an under 9s.
That's a very fit under 9 set.
A lot of little steps, isn't it?
Definitely. Have you found that it's been harder keeping people engaged this time round in lockdown 3 than it has been in sort of the first couple?
Possibly. We're doing a lot of things. We're constantly talking about little things we can put out, whether it's throwbacks or challenges moving forwards, and things to get people in and around the town and the rugby clubs. We've just done a 505 challenge, which is essentially you either go and run 5k on the Saturday morning in some Sandbach kit, or go and spend a £5 in a local business, or ideally do both. And that got pretty good reception. I think we got around a lot of local businesses, and there's a lot of kit going out around Sandbach, which was good. One of the old boys was giving us running updates of who we saw around Sandbach on Facebook. So shout out to Madge on that. Yeah. And then there's just loads of things going on. Like Strava has been a massive thing. Different running groups in Strava and being engaged through this one. I think the big lads set up their own one because we were getting annoyed with Nizza running away with it. Especially Eggy, he couldn't keep up from all accounts. So there's loads going on, isn't there?
Yeah, I think to touch on what Jack said, it's like on your question, it probably has been slightly harder lockdown 3 because lockdown 1 and 2 we used all of our ideas up, so we have to be slightly more imaginative. But to be fair, like Andrew said when he was talking about sort of Sandbach as a community, we are, we've got a football club, a rugby club, and a couple of cricket clubs, and that's about it. And everyone sort of buys into that. It is slightly harder, obviously. It sounds silly because it's slightly harder to get into that age group of what Eggy was saying, a 10 to 14, 15-year-olds. And it's just because obviously myself, Jack, Andrew, who are sort of running the social media, it's trying to get into their heads and work out what they're using. Are they using TikTok? Are we going to have Eggy on TikTok on a weekly feature or what? So that's the challenge at the minute, is trying to get into a slightly younger audience. But I think from a senior point of view, and all the people around the club from sort of 18 plus, everyone's bought into that. So it's now just trying to make sure we get those M&Js involved, and then by having them on social media and them having us on social media, it'll keep them interacting with us for years, won't it? So
I think with that, we sort of made a big conscious effort as a club, not just social media. I know we've touched on that quite a lot there, but we just want to be in the minds of our members and our wider community. Not every day, whether it be a social media post or a news post or a virtual program that we've put together. I mean, we've done a couple of these podcasts ourselves and website articles and stuff like that. It's more that we want to allow that pathway back into the club, whether it be coming on a Saturday to watch the first team, whether it be making a tea and coffee on a Sunday, or whether it be going to a function on a Friday night, which has got nothing really to do with the rugby. It's just keeping the club in the mind of the community. And we, from a sort of a rugby side of things, we've put on clinics for position specific stuff for kids to join if they want. We've put on Zoom calls about attack, about defence, about set piece. We've put on sort of CPD nights, and we're constantly sharing stuff that whether the RFU or Cheshire are putting on, and sharing that out to our sort of wider club community and saying, look, you might be 15 years of age, but you could be the next referee. Here's a course. Why don't you have a look at it? But we're also conscious that we don't want to oversaturate players and thing. Like, we have a big thing for us, and this is something that from a coaching side of the fence, like when Webbs was around with me, Bebbs and Webbs would have a chat, and we'd be like, there's so much we can go into, but ultimately there's only so much saturation point for players. And actually, video analysis of an old game every Saturday would be great for 1 or 2, but actually it is a shelf life. I think, you saw that in lockdown 1, there was so much online challenges, unbelievable. And I was sat there thinking, what are they going to do next week? And funnily enough, it stops. And, I think you've got to have you've got to have something in mind where you're going to get to. So yeah, lots will change, I think, between now and when we get back on the field, and we're sort of making plans to hopefully different scenarios what that looks like when we can get the chance.
Did you get any rugby in during the summer?
Yeah.
The training.
Yeah.
When we could, like the groups of 6 was pretty good. It's well organised. Did loads of that kind of stuff, and then we had a Ready for Rugby game. We managed to sneak in one festival on that, didn't we? Which was good.
Yeah.
That kept everyone together. Good blowout.
Colts involved with that as well, wasn't it? That which was pretty good.
Felt pretty normal, putting your socks on and shorts and your kit. It was good. Yeah.
Missed it.
Massively missing it.
So obviously rugby's probably not going to return for a little while, but if there was to be a Ready for Rugby sooner rather than later, is that something that everyone would sort of buy into as sort of a way to just get back to doing something, or is it just summer, but now we want the real stuff?
I'd personally take anything at the moment.
I'm with you.
Out and like be with the lads, playing rugby. It may not be in the form as we all love it, but anything's better than nothing at the moment in my eyes.
Yeah, definitely.
Go on, Nick.
No, go on, Andrew. You're in with
I think we sent a mail shot out to all the lads this morning, actually, the senior players, and just said, look, what things would just we'll make a decision based on the time between when restrictions lift and when the season restarts, and we'll just base everything on that. And if it is Ready for Rugby internal stuff, then we'll do that as best we possibly can to upskill our lads and get them ready. And the same with if we can't do it and we can only, if restrictions lift in May, is it worth coming in for May to give them June off to come back for June, July and August? Well, that's the decision you've got to make, isn't it? To, if we're guaranteed league rugby set, in such an important year that's going to come up, that we want to be as prepared as we possibly can be.
I think we'd just be happy just to get back, just back training. Even I can't remember what these stages F and E, I can't remember what they were exactly, but whatever those stages were, when we were just training in the groups of 6, it was just good to be back around the club, and then after training, having a couple of beers outside, socially distanced, obviously, and just being back around the lads, like Eggy said, because it's not just the rugby thing; it's the whole mental health side of things, and seeing people. And I don't have kids, but for people like Eggy and Andrew who've got kids, I can imagine they look forward to Tuesday, Thursdays, even if it's snowing and -2 degrees like it is at the minute. I personally wouldn't want to be training this right now, so I'm actually quite glad for COVID at the minute. But I think we'll just be happy to get back to anything we can do. And if there are a few rule changes, then it means no scrummaging and following what the Allianz Premier 15's been doing, then I don't think that's a bad thing at the minute. But obviously,
do you think that's in the future for rugby at this level?
I don't know. It's hard to gauge. I've seen some of the Allianz Premier 15 stuff, and they probably have 1 or 2 scrums a game. And I actually think for trying to get participation levels up, it's actually a really attractive game to watch. And I know there'll be front rows watching this game. He doesn't know what he's talking about. We need scrums in a game. But from my point of view, as a 9, I love it. It's quick, it's fast, it's good to watch. But don't get me wrong, as soon as we get the green light from the RFU to play the full game, I think we're all raring to go and get back to what we can. But I think we're just raring to play any rugby. So if there are some rule changes, but we still had a bit of contact, then I think everyone's keen for that.
Definitely. You touched on there on the RFU. How much of a help have either your local board been or the RFU in general with some of the stuff that they've been putting out?
Yeah, I mean, we're quite fortunate really that sort of we all try and, from a coaching and sort of the admin side of things, we try and keep our ear to the ground. We probably felt, rugby as a sport is probably more complex than any of the other sort of community sports that are widely spread, whether it be football, cricket and hockey specifically. But the information was pretty concise. I think the infographics they did from pushing it around the clubs and schools, that this is what you can and can't do. And, we sort of Yeah, no, it was good. I think it was probably a couple of days later than it probably could have been. The FA and ECB and England Hockey were always pretty on it, but again, the complexities of the sports probably delay that. And the same with Cheshire RFU, our sort of CB. They sort of were on things as well, and we had a conversation with different RFU representatives, and they were gauging. I fielded a call from the newly appointed player recruitment manager, and he was just saying, look, can we just have a chat about what you're noticing with numbers and all this? And I was like, look, we've actually never had as many senior players on our books as we did this summer. We had more players had official sponsors from local businesses than we've ever had, and we've not even played a game. Maybe we had a bit more time to organise that. That's probably helped because we weren't rushing into league rugby and lads disappearing off to university as quick as they would normally. But I think it was all right. It was all right.
You touched on it there, the sponsorship of players. How have the club have they suffered financially? Are you in a good position? Was there any point? Because I only say this because there was lots of clubs sort of at the beginning that were really scared about whether they'll be able to return, whether they can afford to return.
We've got we've got a really committed committee and a board not of directors. I think they are directors now and going to a limited company, but we've got very few overheads. We've got a bar staff, we've got a groundsman, and we've got a couple of coaches, and that's it. So there's no payment of players. Everyone that you see on the screen and across the whole club, whether you're you've played however many times for whoever, you still either get sponsored by a company or your barber or your dog or whoever. I know one player sponsored by his dog and his mum pays his sponsorship fee. And you get I think it's 350 quid for the season. That pays for revenue for the club. Coach sponsor gets his name in the program, and that's it. And if you're not sponsored, you pay a playing direct debit, and if you're not a player, you pay a social direct debit. And if you're not any of those, then you pay to come and watch the games. And we're fortunate from a mini and junior section that Eggy was talking about there, and the same with the seniors. I mean, we had 86 senior players who are either on a direct debit of £25 a month or provided a £360 one-off payment at the start of the season. And then obviously all the way down mini and juniors from a direct debit. I don't know exactly the funds, but that just gives you a bit of an idea that I think we've had 4 or 5 people across the whole club not pay their direct debit. So if without that we'd be in a much worse position. Can we restart in September if League Rugby was to go back to where it was? Can we get coaches to games? Can we have the provision the players get? Can we the hotel stops pre-game for a team meeting? Can we do that? Yeah, 100%. Would we have been able to do that without the goodwill of the community? No.
Brilliant. Sounds amazing. So what? Looking ahead then, as we rugby isn't coming back for a little while longer. But what are the goals for Sandbach? Short term, medium term, and eventually, what is the future look like?
Go on, Eggy.
Yeah. So with that, for me, I'd like to see us, like Nick said, we finished 5th in the league last season. If it hadn't been for 3 games, which I think it was 4 games we lost by 1 point, we would have been touching on top 2 in the league. You can always say what could have been, should have been. This season, I want us to be, well, it's not going to happen, but the next season is available, is to be there, that 1 or 2 in the league. And especially with the restructuring, reforming of the leagues that's meant to be happening next summer, we want to be in the best position possible to be challenging these teams that we've looked up to over the years, and we want to be playing and beating them. So that's
definitely. I think on that playing perspective, it will be interesting to see how some of the teams that we have been playing against and teams, in the immediate 2 leagues above Nat 2, Nat 1, how they come out of this financially. Because I imagine, clubs that are paying, it's going to be a lot more difficult for them. as Andrew said, obviously we're a strictly amateur club, and we've got a really supportive community, and the bar at the rugby club is busy every night regardless. But I think more so from taking away from the senior playing side of things, it's just making sure the M&J continues to thrive in the way it has. I think the stuff that has been done by Andrew and all the coaches from first team through to Eggy at the under-6s, they've been engaging with the players and keeping them involved. And if they can continue to do that and then continue to bring in new players, from the school and the wider area, because everyone's been seeing, Sandbach Rugby, they've been seeing it on social media, they've been seeing it wherever they've been seeing it, that hopefully they'll bring in more numbers, and that'll just continue to grow, and we'll continue to have players playing in the Gallagher Premiership for years going on, and that's where we really hope the club goes to, I think.
Yeah, we've got a subcommittee at the moment that are going through a 5 and a 10-year strategic plan, and that goes from car park right through to branding and things like that, and whether we're having shelters for under 8s and under 10s, which is on there because of their locality of their pitch in comparison to where the clubhouse is, and so there's no thing that I'm really proud of about the club is there's every age group is sort of seen as equal, and every section is seen as equal. Yes, the first team bring in more people to watch on a Saturday, and naturally that's just what's going to happen. But I think everyone's aware that, ultimately we need to get rugby back to, we need Bradwell Road busy again, whether it be a Saturday or a Sunday or a Friday for an event. And ultimately, I think we're all our sort of our short-term plan is we want everyone to come. I want everyone to come away from the club and go, it's a nice place that. The rugby was good. We were hosted well. The beer was reasonably priced. It was pretty decent. There was a good crack in the bar. And actually, do you know what? We might have lost or we might have won, but actually, I like that club. I think that's a big marker for sort of community rugby. And then sort of long term, look, do we want to go up? 100%. Do we want an artificial training pitch? 100%. Do we want a covered stand between the two pitches? 100%. Do we want a bigger, better bar? Yeah, with a balcony and a beer terrace. Yeah, But
we want to be in the Prem. Yes.
These are just small little things, and I think it's small steps, and this has sort of put a bit of a roadblock really. But yeah, it's an exciting place to be involved in.
So finally, it's a question that we ask everybody. What are your hopes and fears for either the club or grassroots rugby for the next 12 months? We'll go around the table, but we'll start with Eggy.
So for us as a club, being on the committee and everything now, we couldn't be in a stronger position than what we are. I've read about the other clubs and that in our area, which aren't doing quite as well, and I feel fortunate we're in that position. It is going to be hard getting everybody to come back after all this lockdown. It's going to be over 12 months without any rugby. That is going to be a difficult thing to do for the lads, especially married ones with kids. But we've made it the best possible. We put the club in the best possible position to come out of this in the best possible place it can do. But yeah, I just think we're in a good place. I hope everyone else is as well.
And Jack?
Hopes really just... Like Eggy said, we've always joked about Champions League, but we're really getting into kind of the top 4, top 2 places in the league and establishing ourselves there. Probably bringing through a few more Colts. We always have a couple of real good Colts come through each year. Get them into the senior teams again. And then the fears, I think, are just that first contact with a big number 3 running down me.
And Nick?
Yeah, same as the other boys, no hopes or fears as such. Well, I hope that all the other clubs in our league are all in a good place because we're looking forward to playing against them again. But just, hopes are that we can get back to the bar at some point soon and have a beer together because I think that is much needed and everyone's welcome.
100% much needed. And finally, Andrew, your hopes and fears for the club or for rugby in 2021?
Yeah, hopes really, just like, the lads have all alluded to it. We just want to sort of get back to those good days that we always talk about, and whether it be first game of the season at home with packed clubhouse or last game of the season or whatever it may be, and just sort of provide the lads an opportunity, whether it's first team or lads returning to the game or under 16s, under 6s, the first opportunity to play the sport. Just sort of provide everybody else an opportunity to do something that they really love and we really love as well. I think there is a few fears. I think we'd be silly not to. I mean, I wrote this in my program notes. We do like a virtual program every month that goes out via mail shot, and I've put in there. I think we've got to be forward thinking with stuff. There's going to be potentially a 17, 18, 19 years of age boys leaving the game because they've gone to university and they've not actually engaged in any of it, and there's been an easy way out, or these lads who are really powerful and strong on the pitch have gone and run 5K every day for a year, and they're not going to be the same in terms of their physical attributes. And I think there's going to be, a lot of lads. We sent out a message to all our players. We purposely went through every single player that had played for the club in the last 3 years and spoke to them on the phone or via text message, just as a keep in touch thing. And a lot of the lads who weren't engaged in rugby last season all replied with a very similar message, which was, well, I haven't played for a year. And I said, well, neither has anyone else. So it's the best way to come back because you're all on the same level playing field. So actually, there's that as well to consider. But look, I'm sure clubs in and around the community, up and down the country, have got little plans, and what works for us doesn't work for someone else, And I think everyone's in it together, really. As long as you've got a reasonable set of lads and women and committee members around you, I think we'll be in a good place as a sport in general.
Yeah, brilliant. And finally, Nick or Jack, tell us where they can find more information about the club on social media.
Instagram and Twitter, Facebook, we're on them all, really. Just search Sandbach Rugby Club or Sandbach RUFC. And there's loads of information on there. I think Instagram's probably the one with the most up-to-date stuff going on, but yeah. And then Pitch Hero as well, actually.
Sorry, I missed that.
And Pitch Hero as well.
Yeah. Lovely. Well, look, it's been great to chat to you, lads. I really appreciate giving up your time. All the best for the next few months, and hopefully we'll get some rugby back in the summer, and you can all get that beer together that you sort of all desperately alluded to. Trust me, I need one as well. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Don't forget to go to rugbystore.co.uk, who have supported us through the whole 30 odd episodes that we've been doing. Use the promo code FYB pod at the checkout, get 10% off. But yeah, Eggy, Jack, Nick, and Andrew, thank you very much for joining the roundtable tonight, and we'll catch up again soon.
Cheers, Sean. Thank you.
Cheers.